Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. I hope everyone is doing amazing. I hope you've all had a great weekend. Also, welcome back to my YouTube. Welcome back to this daily market analysis, daily market outlook. Before we get into the charts, I just want you guys to know that the content on this channel and anything that I do is for educational and informational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing shared in my videos or with anything that I share should be considered financial investment or trading advice. Trading and investing involves risk, and you should always conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Understand that any past performances also discussed does not guarantee future results. You're responsible, as always, for your own financial decisions. So welcome back to the YouTube. It is Monday the 20th of July. This is going to be interesting. To say the least. We've got a heavy news week, especially from Monday to Wednesday, as you guys can see. Today, 2:30, we have Canadian dollar CPI. So again, anything in regards to the Canadian dollar could be affected or will be affected. And then Great British Pound news at 8 a.m. tomorrow with New Zealand dollar at midnight tonight. So yeah, we've got Great British Pound against CPI on Wednesday, and then going into, of course, Thursday we have AUD and Euro red folder news. So heavy red folder news in regards to some of the major pairs going into today, but mainly today we have Canadian dollar to obviously worry about. So with that being said, let's jump into the charts and see what is going on. So as you guys can currently see, last week, Monday, we reached back into this daily supply, and then Tuesday and Wednesday we had that dump off with two big institutional candles. And then going into Thursday and Friday, we obviously had market retracement. Now, where did market retrace? We'll look at this last buy candle before this movement down. That is our next daily supply area. And as you guys can see, market pretty much came into around about that area. So if you're looking at market structure, you can see that yes, we have imbalance still below here. Yes, we have this daily demand area, and obviously this is an area of higher low and higher high. So we're expecting potential markets to come back into this daily demand and then go and create a new higher high. But of course, we play both sides, and the reason we do that is because if you look, we reacted from this previous daily supply area here, and then since then with market structure, we've had, as you can see, internal giving us that bearishness coming into this day's supply and now this. So at this moment in time, I'm expecting bearishness to carry on. And then when we get to that daily demand area, we can make a financial decision, your own financial decision to know if we're going to participate or not. So let's have a look at the four. So on the 4 hour, you guys can pretty much see, what I can obviously see. This is the internal structure inside of that daily we've just been talking about. We have obviously this yellow meaning the imbalance, and then obviously this 4 hour demand area. And you can refine that 4 hour demand if you want, or not refine it, sorry, to the end to this whole area here. From the start of the imbalance to here. So basically, this is where we want to see market come into. We want to see this imbalance filled and then potentially come into this 4 hour demand area. Now, as you can see, the internal is, bearish. At this moment in time, what I can come to see is we have obviously like this from the start of this imbalance to the top of this range, we have two supply areas. We have this supply area and this supply area right now. Of course, we're getting a reaction from this supply area, which is perfect. So market could now just potentially go and carry on into this demand area below from there. Now, obviously, the good thing about this 4 hour supply area and why this is valid is because when market pulled away from here, where this big dump off, market did have this pullback. We had this pullback here. Yes, we didn't come reach into this imbalance of filling that supply, but then we had another dump away, another expansion away, which makes this area a valid supply area. So I'm looking at the four. Ideally, what I'm liking to see is I want to see market come into this area, and then I want to see market slow down. And then I want to see rejection away from that. And as you guys can see, we had market slow down as we got in, and then we had this rejection candle away from there, this engulfing candle away. So that indicated that, of course, market could be looking to short. And then, since that rejection, market has just been short in a way. So perfect scenario so far for potential dollar shorts to carry on, and then targeting potentially this low here. So let's keep an eye out on that, of course, for the rest of today, and see what is going on. We could potentially come back into around these areas here. Um, we could potentially see market either carry on shorting from here or a little push above, filling that imbalance, take out any early sellers, tap into the supply, and then potentially get that short to carry on for the US dollar. So hopefully that is pretty clear for you guys. Now going into Euro USD, what can we currently see? We can currently see that we're still being inside that daily supply. We've failed to go and break, above this supply and have a candle closure. So you guys will obviously remember that we wanted to see this supply area met, but at this moment in time, we haven't quite had that. Now, again, if we look at the dollar daily, if we're going to carry on shorting from here, then you can see hopefully potentially the market can carry on bullish from this area here. But we are obviously in that supply still. We're obviously not breaking above right now. We're tapped above and then we come back down. If we look at the four. Can we see anything different? Well, what we can basically see is that we obviously have these demand areas in control. Now, first thought is we're in this demand area right now. So this demand area is a valid demand area, but I don't like the way that this is obviously looking at this moment in time, unless obviously it's coming to take out these lows and then we get a rejection away again. That is obviously one scenario, but I'm also very, very aware of this 4 hour demand area being untouched, this 4 hour. So, either two scenarios is what I just mentioned. We get a rejection, we basically dip a bit lower, take out these lows, we get a rejection, and then we could potentially carry on from here. Or market's going to come lower into this area here. We have a slight imbalance that you can see that gap between this demand, and then we obviously mitigate this area and then carry on. And again, that would have to align with, if we go bullish from here, that would have to align with potential bears from maybe this short or this short from here. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And again, obviously, if opportunities for the internal, like lower time frames for shorts and in longs, you can obviously look out for that as well to try and trap the market. But yeah, let's see what happens. We've got 56 minutes left on this candle. Um, of course, going into Great British Pound, before we do actually, let's have a look at the daily. A lot cleaner for me than Euro USD. Euro USD has been a lot more uglier, whereas GU has been extremely, extremely clean. You can see the movements of the markets have been working perfectly. Now, of course, we've tapped into this daily demand and also reacted from this supply. But you guys can obviously notice that the structure is bullish. We have this high, higher high, and then we have this higher low. So everything is aligned perfectly right now. For if the dollar's going to carry on shorting from this daily supply, the daily demand should hold. Now going into the 4 hour, you can see that market structure. Let's just clean this up. Remove this one. So you can see that market structure is looking nice. Beautiful, beautiful trade idea that we talked about last week from here. We had that rejection candle away from this demand area. We had this, a bullish engulfing candle. And then what the market do, we traced into this area here. And then obviously that would have been one of your potential long entries from there. But yeah, it's been a beautiful idea so far. It's done around a 1 to 5 almost from there. But focusing on the 4 hour, we can obviously see that we've had that reaction. We had that beautiful reaction away. We've tapped in And then now currently what I'll be waiting for is to see if market's going to give us potentially this 4 hour demand area here to carry on. Um, let's just mark this out so you can see 4 hour demand. So for me personally, when we get into around this area, I either want to see two things. I want to see when market gets into this demand, are we going to have, some sort of scenario where it's like we tap into that demand and we get a large rejection like a large wick like this with body closure similar to this one here, similar to this one. If we get that, then obviously that could be a perfect scenario for us to look for a trade. Or of course we have this area, and then in fact let's 1 second, and then we have a nice rejection away. Let's just make this, we are black, so make this black. So either this candle and then potentially looking for that long, or you wait for something like this where we get similar to this here, you get the engulfing candle or this engulfing. So the rejection away from that area, do we get the engulfing, and then obviously that could be giving us that confidence to look for the longs away. So that is what I'm going to be keeping my eye on for when we get into this 4 hour demand area with Great British Pound US dollar. Going into NZUSD, let's have a look at the daily for a second. So what can we currently see? Let me just remove these off the charts for 1 sec. I think there's another one. Okay, so of course NU has been, extremely bullish. We are still inside of this daily supply area. Um, we obviously didn't come into this demand. We had a pullback and then carried on. We haven't come yet into this area of demand as well. As you guys can see, we haven't had that just at this moment in time. We've had a mini pullback, and then obviously now we're going bullish, it seems, at this moment in time. So for me, we might not get this pullback again, similar to this scenario. So we drop down to the 4. We're going to obviously focus on the 4 hour. And what is the 4 hour telling us at this moment in time? And what the 4 hour is telling us at this moment in time is, if you focus on the structure, we have higher high pullback. What did the market do? Go and create a new higher high again. So we have a range from this low to this high. Where's market coming to? Market failed here to come into this demand. We left that imbalance. What did market end up doing? Market ended up coming below this low, taking out any early buyers, filling in that imbalance, tapping into that band, and then obviously having that rejection candle away. So for me personally, this is a beautiful scenario of market telling us where its intentions are. We have this demand area right now. So for me, it's the same scenario of when we get into this area, we fill in that imbalance, we take out these early lows, then I'm going to wait for the same scenario of a rejection from this area, and then look into potentially long this as well. So that is what I'm going to keep my eye on. Again, you can wait for the rejections on the 1 hour or the 4 hour when it gets into this area. You can protect your stop loss below the low, or you can obviously try and refine it to a smaller stop loss. But of course, the more smaller your stop loss is, the most likely you will get caught out over time. But again, the more experienced you become, the better you become at doing that. So definitely keep an eye on this area for NZUSD. Now let's have a look at AUDUSD. Let's remove that. Okay, so AUDUSD, you can see that we had a reaction from this demand area. You can see we pulled away, we went bullish, we didn't tap into this demand area, unfortunately, and we're still getting that bullishness away. But we have obviously reacted from this daily supply. Now, if you guys are looking and thinking, well, Liam, which one would you prioritize, this demand or this supply? Well, first thought is, what is the dollar doing? The dollar obviously is going to tell us everything we need to know. So with that being said, with the dollar, we are obviously internally bearish, which means that I would favor the internal bullish on AUD/USD. So either this demand area or, of course, the internal of something that's going on. So you can see that is pretty simple. If we jump down to the 4, it's not my favorable. Again, you guys will probably notice AUD/USD isn't my favorite pair to trade. Just being completely honest, what we've seemed to have done is instead of having a full retracement, we obviously have this imbalance here, which is where market has come into. I'll make that yellow a sec. Market's obviously come into that and then reacted away. But yeah, for me, NZ USD, GBP USD, and EU are more favorable pairs for me than AUD USD. So I'm not going to cover this too much until we potentially, if we do, break this high and then hopefully get a better scenario for AUD USD. USD CAD, let's see what she's doing. Let's have a look. So USD CAD, we've been extremely bullish as you can see from April. I mean, extremely bullish. We've now officially, before, when was it? Was it not this week, the week before? Yeah, the 20th, nearly a month ago actually. We reached into this daily supply and then we had that reaction away. But coming into last week, you can see we had that big reaction away here. So that could be telling us our intentions of potential USD CAD shorts. Now, what that means for right now is what is going on here because we've reached this daily demand area. And my first thought is, can we potentially get the longs in here? And then maybe have a look at supply in this area to carry on shorting, maybe. But trying to basically play both scenarios. So um, we do have around this area here as a daily supply. Let me just remove that now. As a daily supply. So it'd be interesting to see if we can get some bullishness from here. If we look at the four, what is the 4 hour telling us at this moment in time? Well, we've reached into this demand. As you can see, we had a beautiful reaction from that 4 hour supply that I called out last week. Um, and yeah, we've obviously reached into this and we've started to slow down. We have had a good reaction away on the 4 hour here. You can see that market slowed down and we got that engulfing. Um, again, does that align with the dollar? Well, ish, of course. But if you look at USD CAD, the one thing I want you to just focus on is the fact that, if let me just look at the 8. This internal is still extremely bearish. That's the only thing. If you look at the 8 hour, you can see we had this imbalance here, and then it seems to be reacting from around this area. Now we drop down to the 4, so half the time frame. You can probably see it aligns with this as a 4 hour supply, which is where market is seeming to slow down, sorry, right this moment in time. Is this the most favorable area to trade? No, it's not. But I'm just showing you guys, it looks more better on the 8 hour by utilizing this whole candle because of the imbalance below. So let's see what happens in regards to this area. See if we get a reaction from there. But of course, if we do carry on bullish, I'd probably most likely be looking from around this area here as a 4 hour demand. So let's say, for instance, USD CAD, we get that reaction, that rejection away. I would just keep an eye out on this demand area. If we carry on shorting, amazing, it is what it is. But seeing if we get a rejection from there, it could obviously then go and catapult to market carrying on longs from this demand area. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Okay, going into USD CHF. Again, let me just clean this mess up. 1 second. This one. Okay, so as you guys can pretty much see, we've obviously been extremely bullish. Um, we had the reaction from this demand, and then market obviously pulled back. Then we had this bullish engulfing candle. Where did market come back into? Well, this demand area here. The start of the imbalance was here. Let me just quickly show you guys so you can see it in case you can't. You can see that's why it's my demand. We had this bullish reaction, left a lot of imbalance. So the start of the imbalance is there. This is the last consolidation area, last wick down before obviously this bullishness. Um, and our market's obviously reached into there. So can we see bulls away from this area? Potentially. Now, again, if you look at USD CHF, you can see that market structure, just bear with me for 1 sec. You can see that market structure has obviously been pretty clean. We've obviously reached into the lower demand area, the 1 hour inside of that 4 hour. We haven't obviously reached into this, but market obviously pulled back into a 1 hour, and then we're starting to get this reaction away again. So looking at the four, we've got 45 minutes, almost 44 minutes left on this candle. This candle for me looks like it's telling us bullish momentum's coming in. We obviously had a reaction from this supply. Market pulled back into this area of supply as well, but we failed. So let me just quickly show you this. And this tells me a lot. So of course, market was bullish from this higher high to this higher low on the daily. We reached into this demand area. We had a reaction, but of course, the 4 hour is bearish. You can see the 4 hours was from here, here, here. So what we expect is into a supply, go and create a new lower low. So again, that's the first thought. So my thought is, of course, this 4 hour supply is perfect, and then you would have aligned that with an entry, another entry on this 4 hour supply here. So we just play along. Market came into obviously at demand on the 1 hour, but focus on the supply. We tapped in. We had another rejection. And then from that rejection, what's happened? Well, let me just remove this. From that rejection away from here, we had another rejection, failing to go and break these lower lows in the internal. And now we've had this candle tell us this, and then this bullish reaction. So for me personally, this could potentially go bullish. And if it goes bullish, yeah, I would need to see how this candle finishes. Um, on this candle's 40 minutes left on this candle, and then we could have potential long opportunities from this area here to potentially go and carry on longing with USD CHF. So it's going to be interesting to see how this candle finishes, and then we can obviously make a decision or a better, clearer decision from there. USD Japanese yen. Let's have a look. It's been pretty ugly to be fair. Obviously we had these demand areas which have worked out perfectly, but just overall it has been pretty ugly. We've obviously been trapped between supply and demand. We've had this demand area which we've had some good reaction from, but we're still in that supply area here. So again, it is not the cleanest right now. Internal for me is being bullish. The last thing I can spot with my eye is this reaction from here. This reaction as a 4 hour demand. So we had pull back into this 4 hour demand, reaction away, pull up again into this demand, reaction away, but we've been consolidating. So I need to see some sort of engulfing candle away from this potentially, and then look for the same scenario, a 4 hour demand area potentially. But as of right now, you guys who are watching this should know by looking at this price action, you should most likely not be trading this. We need to see some sort of reaction away. Like I just said, like an engulfing candle. If it's this candle, which doesn't look it, this candle looks like volume slowing down. If the next 4 hour candle is, an extremely bullish one, then that could be one that you obviously keep an eye on. If we jump down to the one, let me just remove this. If we jump down to the one, you can obviously see there's a different story. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we had a reaction from this demand, pull away. Where is the reaction on this 1 hour come from? Well, what can we see? It's clear as daylight. We have this 1 hour demand area here. This is why 4 hour and 1 hour is different. What do we have below and what do we have above this 1 hour demand? We have money, we have liquidity, we have lows, we have equal lows pretty much, which means that is a potential for market to obviously retrace. Then what also do we have? We have an imbalance that is above the demand area. If you guys do my course, this should all be clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking and making sense. Now, again, what does this tell us? This is a beautiful reaction away from here. This is a good reaction away. If you look at this scenario, same scenario we come into a demand. Let's just remove this sec. We come into a demand, volume slows down, large wick, rejection away. There's your buying scenario. So let's see how this candle finishes. And then when this candle finishes, if it finishes as it is, you could have a potential entry to look for from here, maybe. I'm not too sure. Of course, we're going to wait and see. But that could be a potential entry that we could obviously keep an eye on when this candle finishes in 40 minutes. So yeah, that is your daily market outlook for today. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Um, Sorry about Friday's recording. I do apologize about it not being uploaded, but again, we are back today with another upload. But yeah, if you get value from these calls, if you get value from these daily market outlooks, make sure to obviously drop a like on the video. Make sure you've got your subscribe button turned on, and also very, very important, make sure you've got the notification button turned on so you're notified when these videos are uploaded. I'll be real, I got sick to death of telling people, the video's uploaded. People rely and rely and rely and rely on people to tell them what to do and how to become successful and how to do this and how to do that. Some people just need to do it themselves. So I've decided, obviously, not to warn some of you guys that these daily markets outlooks are uploaded so that you can go and, obviously find out for yourselves. But other than that, guys, take care. I'll see you tomorrow and God bless.